Hello, gelatin, and make some fun.
A new Chevrolet family-engineered station wagon.
I'm talking on the phone.
Yes, continually.
Embark on a nostalgic journey to the 1970s, when parenting fused timeless values with groundbreaking trends, from embracing iconic fashion to adopting unconventional methods. Delve into the vibrant ways parents of the era navigated life and discover the standout practices that defined their day. Join us as we explore 20 things your parents definitely did in the 1970s.
We're focusing on fashion and putting on the style.
In the 1970s, parents in the U.S. embraced some pretty wild fashion trends that were both weird and amazing. Imagine mom and dad strutting around in bell-bottoms, those pants with legs flared wide at the bottom. They were all the rage and made everyone look ready to dance at any moment. And let's not forget the platform shoes.
Platform soles and big high heels, lots of colors too. Of all the things we like the best, one must be this shoe.
These shoes had thick soles that added inches to their height, making them look taller and wobbly. Parents loved these trends and wore them pridefully, feeling stylish and cool. They'd pair their bell-bottoms and platform shoes with bright, colorful shirts or blouses, often with crazy patterns and big collars. They were always dressed for a disco party, even if they were just going to the grocery store. It's funny to think about it now, but this was the height of fashion back then. They might have looked a bit silly, but they were rocking it, embracing the funky style of that flair. Moving from groovy fashion statements of bell-bottoms and platform shoes, let's delve into another iconic aspect of the 70s lifestyle that kept things organized and colorful.
This is Tupperware, the airtight plastic containers that keep good foods fresher, longer.
One of the quirkiest things was our parents' obsession with Tupperware. Seriously, they used Tupperware for everything. Leftover spaghetti, Tupperware. Homemade cookies, Tupperware. Even those little odds and ends like buttons and safety pins. You guessed it, Tupperware. It wasn't just for food either. Parents found the most creative ways to use those colorful, airtight containers. Kids' craft supplies like crayons, beads, and glue sticks often ended up in the Tupperware. It was like a magic storage solution for everything in the house. Moms would invite friends to show off the latest Tupperware designs and exchange storage tips.
One way to buy Tupperware is a fun way. At a Tupperware home party, where you can see it demonstrated and order the Tupperware you need.
It was a social event and a way to stock up on even more Tupperware. So, if you ever wondered why your grandparents had stacks of mismatched plastic containers, now you know. It was just one of those charming practical habits that made life in the 70s unique and memorable. Back in the 1970s, parents often did something that seems strange today, leaving their kids in the car while running errands. Imagine it's a hot summer day, and your mom or dad needs to grab a few things from the store. Instead of dragging you along, they'd park the car, crack the windows for air, and tell you to sit tight. They trusted you to behave and not get in too much trouble. No smartphones or tablets to keep you busy, just you, your siblings, and maybe a comic book or a toy. Sometimes you might even play make-believe games, pretending the car is a spaceship or secret hideout. It was a different time, and people didn't worry as much about safety. Parents believed the world was safer and kids had more freedom to learn independence. Looking back, it feels like a funny shared memory for many who grew up in that era. Today, it's hard to imagine leaving kids alone in a car, but back then, it was just another part of life. While leaving kids alone in cars may seem unimaginable, smoking indoors with children presents even more shocking health risks and dangers.
Yes, treat your taste kindly.
In the 1970s, it was super common for parents to smoke indoors, even with kids around. Picture the living room filled with a hazy cloud of cigarette smoke as parents puffed away, thinking nothing of it. Whether during dinner, watching TV, or having friends over, smoking inside the house was just a regular part of life. Back then, people didn't worry much about the health risk we know today. There were no strict rules about where you could light up a cigarette, so homes often smelled like smoke. Ashtrays were a common sight on coffee tables, and the smoke would cling to clothes, furniture, and curtains. Kids growing up in that era were used to the smell of cigarettes and probably didn't think twice about it. They might have even played with pretend cigarettes or helped empty the ashtrays. Today, with all our information about secondhand smoke, it's hard to believe this was the norm. But in the 1970s, it was just another everyday thing.
When you choose a slow cooker, be sure you get the real thing, the original rival crock pot, the last word in slow cooking.
In the 1970s, crock pots were a kitchen staple, making slow-cooked meals a convenient go-to for families. These handy devices allowed parents to toss many ingredients in the morning, set the dial, and let dinner slowly cook throughout the day. When everyone got home, a warm, hearty meal was ready. The beauty of crock pots was in their simplicity. Busy parents loved them because they could prepare meals with minimal effort, saving time for other tasks or simply relaxing. Classics like beef stew, chili, and pot roast became family favorites. The slow cooking made everything tender and flavorful, turning simple ingredients into delicious dishes. Kids in that era probably remember coming home to the comforting smell of a meal simmering away. The anticipation of lifting the lid to see what was for dinner added a bit of excitement to the daily routine. It was a time when convenience met homemade goodness, and crock-pots played a big part in making family dinners easier and more enjoyable. Homes were not only filled with the comforting aroma of slow-cooked meals from crock-pots, but also adorned with the plush, playful charm of shag carpeting.
Introducing the new windmill shag carpet from Sears. It's baby-proof, it's dog-proof, and it's pleasure-proof. Plus, it's downright economical.
Back in the 1970s, parents had a knack for turning their homes into cozy, quirky spaces, and one of their favorite tricks was decorating with shag carpeting. Imagine walking into your living room and sinking your toes into a thick, colorful carpet that felt like a fluffy cloud. These shag carpets came in wild colors like bright orange, lime green, and deep purple, adding a splash of fun to every room. Parents loved these carpets because they made everything feel warmer and more comfortable. They were great for sitting, playing, and even lying down to watch TV. Kids could build forts or roll around on the soft, fuzzy floor, making it the perfect playground right at home. Of course, keeping these shag carpets clean was a different story. Parents spent hours vacuuming to remove the crumbs and dirt that seemed to hide in the long, shaggy fibers. Despite the cleaning hassle, these carpets were a beloved part of many 70s households. They added character and a touch of whimsy, making home life more vibrant and fun for everyone.
America's station wagon specialist and leader again makes station wagon history by breaking out with a big collection of advances for wagon owners.
In the 1970s, American families had a quirky tradition of piling everyone into a big station wagon for road trips. These cars were like mini homes on wheels, perfect for long journeys. Kids often sat in the back without seatbelts and played games or argued. Parents packed the car with snacks, coolers, and pillows, making it a mobile picnic. These trips were always full of funny moments. Parents would play classic rock on the radio, and everyone would sing along, even if they didn't know all the words. Roadside attractions were a must-stop, from giant balls of twine to quirky dinners. Kids would beg for souvenirs to entertain everyone with car games like I Spy or counting license plates. Despite the cramped space and occasional skirmishes, these road trips created lasting memories, a blend of adventure, boredom, and family bonding that many look back on with a smile. Families packed their station wagons with memories and filled the air with the sounds of 8-track tapes, turning every journey into a symphony of laughter and sing-alongs.
Woolies have cut 35p off 100 of their hottest cassettes. Queen.
Helen Reddy.
Barry White. Gladys Knight in the Pit.
In the 70s, families jammed out to music on 8-track tapes, especially during car rides. These tapes were like big, clunky versions of CDs or MP3s. You had to slide them into a special player, and they'd play out your favorite tunes. One funny thing about 8-track tapes was that they sometimes switched tracks in the middle of a song, which could be annoying. Imagine grooving to your favorite music, only for it to jump to another track. Despite their quirks, 8-track tapes were a staple of road trips and family sing-alongs. Everyone had their favorite rock, pop, or country music tapes. And if you were lucky, you'd have a collection of tapes to choose from, making those long car rides more enjoyable.
Listen, I don't have much time. Old Bear will be here any minute. I just wanted you to know that Superior Waterbeds will not be having any more... Get out of here, Kevin!
A lot of parents were all about these cool things called waterbeds. Imagine a bed not filled with regular mattress stuff, but with water. It was like sleeping on a gentle wave, or so they thought. These beds were all the rage because they were different and fun. Waterbeds were a hit for parents and kids alike in the 1970s for different reasons. Parents likened sleeping on them to floating on a cloud due to their unmatched comfort, while kids saw them as mini water parks in their bedrooms. However, waterbeds often offered more relaxation than expected, unless the heater malfunctioned. Then, what was once a cozy bed turned into what felt like a frozen lake. Despite their quirks, waterbeds became a distinctive symbol of the 70s, embodying the decade's flair for novel and unconventional trends. They offered a unique bonding experience for parents and kids alike, even if they occasionally proved more trouble than they were worth. This wacky trend left lasting memories of fun, comfort, and the occasional chilly night. Just as the 1970s brought us the quirky charm of wacky waterbeds, it also immersed us in a sea of avocado green and harvest gold, turning every kitchen into a fashionable avocado dream. In the 1970s, parents were totally into avocado green and harvest gold. These colors were everywhere, especially in kitchens and on appliances. Imagine your mom cooking dinner in a kitchen that looked like an avocado. It might sound funny now, but it was the height of fashion back then. You would likely see those funky colors whenever you walked into the kitchen. The fridge, dishwasher, and other appliances likely rocked those shades. It was a green and gold party in every home. Kids today might chuckle at the thought of their parents adoring avocado green and harvest gold, but these colors epitomize groovy charm during their heyday. Often seen as delightfully excessive, this period in home decor history showcases a vibrant slice of the past when bold colors ruled and every detail shouted style.
The important thing is
Sylvania beats Zenith.
And as you can clearly see,
Sylvania beats RCA.
Now here's the way it...
Sylvania beats Magnavox.
In the U.S., families often had large wooden console TVs that dominated the living room, serving as the centerpiece for family gatherings. Everyone would crowd around this massive set, eager to catch their favorite shows. Unlike today's myriad of channels and streaming options, these TVs offered only a few. Moreover, you had to get up and manually change the channel. No remotes, just a dial to turn, making each viewing choice quite deliberate. Watching TV back then was a whole event. You'd plan your evening around your favorite shows, and everyone in the family would be glued to the screen. These console sets were like pieces of furniture, taking up a good chunk of space, but also adding a touch of nostalgia to the room. Kids today, used to streaming services and countless channels, might find it amusing to picture the era of big, bulky TVs that offered only a few channels. Back then, television sets were massive furniture in the living room, and choosing what to watch meant physically getting up to switch the channel. It was a different time when TV viewing was less about endless options and more about a shared family experience. Families didn't just gather around console TVs for entertainment and showcase their culinary magic by turning basic ingredients into delightful meals.
Let me turn my chicken off. Let's finish it and see. Good, doesn't taste greasy.
Back in the 1970s, parents were like cooking wizards. They made everything from scratch, so they cooked meals at home using basic ingredients instead of buying ready-made stuff. Mom or dad would turn plain old flour, eggs, and butter into delicious cookies or bake a cake from scratch instead of grabbing one from the store. They only relied a little on pre-packaged foods, as we do not rely on little quick microwave meals or instant dinners. They took the time to cook meals with love and care, ensuring everything tasted right. It was like a magic show happening in the kitchen every day. There weren't as many fast food joints back then, so families gathered around the dining table more often. Sharing a home-cooked meal was a big deal, bringing everyone together for good food and good times.
Salon Perm?
No, Ogilvy.
Salon Perm?
No, Ogilvy Home Perm.
Parents in the 1970s often tried their hand at home perms, following the instructions to achieve cute, bouncy curls for their kids. Sometimes the results were fantastic, and kids would proudly show off their new look. However, there were also times when things didn't go quite as planned, leading to wonky curls or frizzy hair. It could look like a humorous mishap, as if you'd accidentally stuck your finger in an electrical socket. It's funny how determined parents were to make their kids look trendy and stylish, even if it meant experimenting with their hair at home. It's a memory for many who grew up in that era, a mix of amusement and cringe when thinking back on those home-perfect days. Are you curious about your parents' parenting styles and techniques when raising you in the 70s? Well, keep watching to find out. Back in the 1970s, there was a universally accepted rule among parents: let the kids play outside until dark. This meant entire days spent exploring, playing games, and simply being kids, without frequent interruptions to return inside. Parents encouraged outdoor play and trusted their children to return home when the streetlights flickered on, a practice that fostered independence and adventure in the young. This simple yet awesome rule also encouraged children to be active, use their imagination, and build lifelong friendships. It also gave parents a much-needed break while the kids burned off all that energy. Little did anyone know that something as simple as playing outside until dark would become a cherished memory for many.
It costs less than $40 and can save the joy of Christmas and happy months to come.
Families had this cool thing where they recorded home movies using Super 8 film cameras. It was like having your own mini Hollywood studio. These cameras were a big deal. They captured family moments in a way that photos couldn't. You could see and hear everything happening, from birthday parties to summer vacations. It was like creating your blockbuster movie starring your family and friends. The process was almost magical. Carefully loading the film into the camera, framing the shot just right, and then pressing the record button. The whirring sound of the roll only added to the thrill, filling you with anticipation. Each moment captured was a special slice of life, preserved for posterity. Watching these home movies was a blast too. Families would gather around the projector, watching the scenes unfold on a big screen in the living room. It was a time when technology brought families closer together, preserving memories that would last a lifetime. Moving from the nostalgic charm of Super 8 home movies to the era of rotary phones in the 1970s reveals a fascinating progression in how families interacted with technology.
Suppose you want to dial 23650. Dial each numeral in this manner, pulling the dial around to the finger stop each time.
In the 1970s, rotary phones were the norm, and parents had mastered using them. These phones featured a circular dial that you spun to enter each number. They were a common household fixture, often equipped with cords so long you could roam around the room while chatting. However, navigating these lengthy cords sometimes meant ending up humorously entangled. It was like a game, trying to dial quickly without messing up the numbers. And if you were calling a friend, you had to wait for the dial to spin back after each number. It took patience. Parents would sometimes get frustrated if you made a mistake while dialing. They'd say things like, "Be careful with the dial, you're going to break it." But it was all part of the fun and charm of those old rotary phones. Parents were big on serving gelatin salads back in the 70s. Imagine wobbly, colorful dishes with fruits like oranges, strawberries, or even veggies like carrots floating inside. It was a jiggly surprise in every bite. Now, why did they do this? Well, for one, it was trendy. People loved experimenting with food, and gelatin was a magical ingredient that could hold almost anything together. Plus, it looked pretty cool, especially with different layers or shapes. In the 70s, gelatin salads quickly became a quirky staple in many households. Their jiggly, colorful appearance often amused kids, and almost every family had its unique take on these wobbly dishes, making them a common yet bizarre culinary adventure at mealtime. Beyond just experimenting with gelatin, parents also embraced a thrifty approach, diving into the world of generic brands to stretch their budgets.
Is the quality the same?
The quality is very similar to what you'd buy in a national brand or a private label package.
In the 1970s, many parents were into something quirky and thrifty, buying generic brands without fancy labels or catchy names. Instead of splurging on flashy brands, they chose plain, no-frills versions. It was all about saving a few bucks without compromising on quality. These generic brands were like the underdogs of the grocery store shelves. They didn't have flashy ads or cool mascots like the big brands, but they got the job done just fine. It was a secret club for budget-savvy parents. It was a common scene. Kids teasing each other about having no-name cereal. Phrases like, "Oh, you got the generic brand again," would echo around, but deep down, everyone understood the value of saving money. Surprisingly, many generic brands were just as delicious as their name brand counterparts, offering a win-win situation for wallets and taste buds. In the 1970s, many homes embraced what was fondly referred to as earth tone decorating. Earth tones encompass colors like browns, oranges, and yellows. Imagine entering a room where everything, from the curtains to the couches to the walls, was adorned in these warm hues. It was akin to stepping into a giant pumpkin patch or finding oneself amid a cozy autumn forest inside your house. This color palette created a unique, inviting atmosphere that defined the era's interior design trends. Kids often wondered why everything seemed to match so well in a strange, earthy way. Some parents even had shaggy carpets in these earth tones, making the room feel like a big, fluffy nest. It was weird but cool in its retro way. And let's remember those funky pattern wallpapers that added a touch of grooviness to the whole scene. This aesthetic was complemented by another popular era trend: Tupperware parties.
Welcome to my very first Tupperware party.
Parents in the U.S. were big on something called Tupperware parties. Your mom or dad would invite friends and family for a get-together, but it wasn't just any party. No, it was all about Tupperware. They'd show off these cool plastic containers, bowls, and kitchen gadgets that were supposed to make life easier. The atmosphere was usually fun and chatty, with everyone checking out the latest Tupperware products and deciding what to buy. The host, often your parent, would earn rewards or discounts based on how much Tupperware was sold at their party. It was like a friendly competition to see who could sell the most. Kids sometimes got in on the action too, helping set up or demonstrating how to use the Tupperware. It might sound odd now, but back then, these parties were all the rage and a quirky part of growing up in the 70s.